If somebody writes you a recommendation and you know you can't publish it like that, send it back to them and ask them to make the following changes. So, Mark, I'm sorry, but this is Darren writing to me. I'm sorry, but you didn't know this, but the requirements in the Cincinnati Bar Association say that you can't say, and then use the quote from what I said and say, could you please address that? Could you please change it to? You can either add substitute language or say, please strike it and take it out. And don't publish a recommendation on your profile unless you know that it fits within what you're looking for to compliment you about the things that you did, and it fits within the ethics requirements.
Hmm.
And then you don't get in trouble. You
Yeah.
don't have to go hat in hand to somebody and say, gee, I didn't know that, because not knowing is not an excuse.
Welcome to the Lawyer Millionaire Podcast, where we explore the intersection of law, finance, and entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Darren Wirtz. Picture the hub of your professional identity, networking, and personal branding all connected at one place. That's right, your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
But are we using it to your fullest potential? Today, we're incredibly fortunate to have with us the person that Forbes named a LinkedIn networking expert, Mr. Marc Halpert. Marc is known for his multipreneur work ethos. He's the founder of Connect to Collaborate, a platform where he spreads his evangelism of LinkedIn and networking. Through training and coaching, Marc has transformed the way numerous professionals across industries communicate their mission and position themselves on this powerful networking tool. Marc is also an author, having penned the books LinkedIn Marketing Strategies for Law and Professional Practices and You Us Them, LinkedIn Marketing Concepts for Nonprofit Professionals Who Really Want to Make a Difference. And this is fantastic because I met Marc several years ago during the pandemic. One of the first people I talked to when I was initially starting the process of writing my own book. And so it's great to have Marc back here and chat with him. So without further ado, Marc, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Darren. Nice to be here.
Absolutely. And it's exciting to see how your business is transforming and growing. And it's crazy how time has flown by here. Um, but anyway, let's get into it. And before we talk about how we can be better at LinkedIn and networking in this digital age, why don't you share with us how you got started with all of this and how you transitioned from working at big companies to starting your own venture, Connect to Collaborate?
I spent way too many years in big corporate America, and it began to get into my head, and it was not a good place for me to be. But last company I worked for was purchased. They asked me if I wanted to go move to the Netherlands. I looked it up online. It was not Amsterdam. I will tell you, it was not a beautiful town. It was a real industrial Rust Belt type of place. And I decided I had a daughter in high school, senior. I wasn't going to take her out. It was going to mess up her college career. So I decided, nope, I'm going to try to do something on my own. My father was an entrepreneur. I always wanted to do something on my own. I went out on my own the day before 9/11. Great timing,
Oh,
right?
wow.
Bad idea. But you know what? Out of every catastrophe, you learn. And out of every challenge, you work inward and you figure out how you can make it work. You meet the right people, they say the right things to you, you pick up on the nuance, you keep going. I sold those two businesses in November. Those were my original businesses from 20 something years ago. Online payments. It was something I knew very well from corporate. But all in the middle of this in 07, 08, there was a period where I was not able to land new business. So I decided to look at a way to meet new people. I didn't know how to do it. And there was this thing called LinkedIn that my buddy had told me about. And I said, nah, I don't need that. I've got Rolodexes on my desk. I know the right people. They'll always plug me in. Well, you know what? People were like moving all around. We had no idea who went where. I lost track of really great people.
Hmm.
And he said, you ought to try this thing called LinkedIn. I looked at it, I said, I need help. This is really hard because it's not something it's not something I can do on the screen. I do it naturally as I speak to people. So I started taking classes and I started listening to teachers and I started hearing teachers contradicting each other. And I started realizing they didn't know what they were talking about. And I decided, you know what? I could teach it myself better. But they were teaching LinkedIn for dummies. Click here, do this. talk, fill in the blanks. It doesn't matter what you say, just fill in the blanks, which is a
Mm.
message I have for everybody. Every blank you fill in on LinkedIn needs to be a market driven message.
Mm.
There are certain sections of LinkedIn that are exceedingly search relevant in the LinkedIn search. If you mess them up, you will never be found because they'll never search you and find you. And you will say to yourself, there's no ROI in LinkedIn. Why am I spending all this time doing this? Because you've messed up your first impression. And you mess up that impression in today's highly attention deficit world, no one cares. They leave and they go on to the next person, even if
Yeah.
you have the best referral in the entire world. So I decided I'm going to do this. I'm going to learn it myself. I'm going to apply my own knowledge of how I operate. And I became a LinkedIn coach. And that was 13 years ago. And my has LinkedIn changed. My has the law changed. My has the incentive to talk about yourself has become more important now, post
Yeah.
pandemically, than ever before because we're all huddled in our basements or our spare bedrooms doing business these days. And we're not out luncheoning and dinnering and all the other things that we could be doing. So it's incumbent upon everybody to give their first impression in nanoseconds so that somebody says,
Mm.
I like what I'm seeing here. This is curiosity I have. I want to know more. And they click down, 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 and read as far as they'll go. So that is a long answer to a short question.
Yeah. Well, it's great. And, 13 years, wow. You really did something that was really smart early on, getting involved in digital networking because, I mean, today it's such a big thing. The pandemic really accelerated everything in that direction. So to be positioned that way at that time, well, I mean, it's fantastic.
It wasn't brilliant. It was luck. It was,
Yeah, yeah. Well, a lot of
I mean,
businesses luck.
right time. There's no other way to say it.
Yeah,
But
cool.
all my career in corporate, I was always trying to find the next new, better job. And I was always speaking at conferences as a way of having people know who I am as an expert in my field. And I
Hmm.
met a lot of wonderful people. And that was sort of the beginning of why I decided that I really wanted to bring my networking capability. And it may be innate and it may be learned, and I can't divide one versus the other, but you build on it, and you build on it, and you just sort of take the influence of what other people have said to you and you internalize it and you develop it into your own capability and your own personality. I don't shut up about things that I really love. And that's one thing that I was always told. I pontificate about things that I find interesting um, because I want other people to know that it's out there. And if I don't tell them, they're going to hear it from somebody else, not as good as I can tell them. So
Yeah,
I say, I can do that for myself. If I don't talk for myself, someone else is going to talk for me. So why don't I just start talking for myself?
makes sense. So let's get into it. LinkedIn. Many listeners are using LinkedIn. Of course, I'm using LinkedIn, blasting this out on LinkedIn, of course.
Right?
And, you know, so you're the expert. Maybe you can share with us some key points. What are some things and insights that you have for our listeners on how they can optimize their LinkedIn profiles to better amplify their mission and their positioning?
Great. Let's start at the top of every LinkedIn profile banner.
Hmm.
Please not have the skyline of Cincinnati, New York, Chicago. Everybody's got that. You didn't
Okay.
build it. It's not your responsibility. Okay. Put a picture of yourself in action. Show what you do. I
Mm.
don't know if you litigate. I don't know if you're a divorce lawyer. I don't know if you do leases and commercial property work. I don't know what you do. Give me a visual point of reference. Give me a good headshot, not necessarily the firm's headshot that you have on the website because you want to use the background, and very few firms use the background behind your picture. Well, look presentable, not stern and surly. Many headshots are overly serious.
Hmm.
Lighten up, folks. Okay. We non-lawyers buy from lawyers who look approachable. Most important, the headline underneath your name. Please do not tell me you are a partner at A, B, C, and D LLP. I don't care. It doesn't tell me what you do. Tell me that you help people in whatever you do. Tell me that you are somebody I can relate to. Keep going. Go to your contact details. You better have a cell phone number there because I'm going to text you. You better have an email box that you follow and open regularly. Please don't have your admin do it for you. Please be the person on the other end that I speak to because I don't want to meet your admin. I want to meet you. I want to know if you're the right person for me. We are consumers, no matter whether you're a lawyer looking for another lawyer or you're a non-lawyer looking for a lawyer, we're consumers. That means we buy with our minds and our hearts. And most of the time we buy with our hearts.
Hmm.
We don't
Mhm.
necessarily buy intellectually. Something you said resonated with me. Some way you said it resonated with me. You know my friend so-and-so. He or she referred me, but I want to know that they said about you really comes through on the LinkedIn profile. And that LinkedIn profile, no matter what you write there, needs to be your wording, the way you express yourself. If you're a little bit fun, be a little bit fun. If you're boring as hell, you're going to be boring as hell anyway. So be yourself. Because if I like you and you're going to go on the short list of the people I'm going to contact by Zoom or by phone, I want to hear on the screen or on the phone the exact same intonation and word usage that I fell in like with you on your LinkedIn profile in order to know if I should engage with you and thus fall in love with you. And
Hmm.
if there is a disconnect and those buzzers go off in my head, I want to get off that screen or off that call as soon as possible. You're dead in my world. And I know that sounds rude or obnoxious, but this is how we make decisions.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I love those 3 points there. The banner, of course, thinking about that. That's great insight. A picture of you in motion, doing what you do. Um, so here's a weird question. If I'm meeting clients on Zoom mostly, could that be just me at my computer working, or what would that look like?
Well, it depends upon what you want to convey. If you're working with one-on-one with a person, have somebody stand behind you while you're on the screen, like I'm doing with you right now, showing you in contact with them. But
Okay.
you got to make the pictures bigger on the screen because you're really crunching it into a banner, which is 4 times wider than it is tall. So you have to play with the pictures. You can divide it up into segments, that banner, and show various aspects of what you do. Many attorneys I work with work in environmental and they work in corporate and they work in litigation because that's where it takes them. So show 3 different aspects of what you do. You can make that work. It's a visual draw. It's like the box of cereal on the shelf.
Hmm.
Every box is contains the same stuff at the end of the day. What makes it outside makes it exciting to begin to open or pick up and read. That's the idea behind the banner. Use every pixel you've got there.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. On a related note, kind of foundational to all of this, are clients going to LinkedIn to find their attorneys? Um, or how does it interplay? Are they, finding their attorney on a website and then going to LinkedIn to check and see exactly who you are? Give us the pitch for why attorneys need to be on LinkedIn in the first place.
All right. You have a website? Good. You should have a link to your LinkedIn on your website. Okay, if I come to your website and I want to read more about you than just one couple of paragraphs on your very standard staid bio on the website, I want to know where you came from. I don't need to know where you went to school. I don't really care about that much. I want to know what you've done well. I want to hear you talk to me before I actually pick up the phone or make a Zoom call with you. You need to work the language out. You're not doing that on the website. Again, we're buying emotionally, okay? If I get a referral to you. I Google you, right? That's where we go. What do you think might be the first or towards the very top Google results? Your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
And being lazy humans as we are today and very fast to make a click, you're going to click on the LinkedIn profile. If that LinkedIn profile is dull, drab, and boring, you lost the opportunity. You might go
Mm.
back to the person and said, you want to talk to my friend Darren? And I said, yeah, but I looked at his profile and he's like dead or died a few years ago. I don't know what happened to him, right? If I look at your LinkedIn profile and you don't have a recommendation in the past 2 to 3 years, and you should have multiple recommendations new in the past 2 to 3 years, you've petrified in my world. If
Mm.
I don't know what you're doing at your firm, if I see your experience and it looks like your resume, it makes me think you're looking for a job. I don't want to work with you. You're looking for a job. You're going to leave me in the middle of my case. Not interested. So that takes us to the section right underneath your headline, and that's the About section. This
Mm.
is your long form elevator pitch where you can actually talk to the audience. Here's where I came from. The benefit of all my experience from my past makes my present. Here's who I am today. Here's a little bit of an idea. I am really interested in whatever the future is. Maybe it's into Bitcoin law, or maybe it's cannabis law, all these developing areas of the law. I have lots of attorneys who've been doing corporate law who are really interested in new aspects because you know what? They've pretty much done it all at this point, and they want to go into something more intellectually satisfying.
Yeah. So let's talk about that about section. What are some key, or best practices for how to structure that? I've seen a lot of variations, folks where it's in the third person, like Darren is the blah, 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 or you're yawning. Others where it's very story driven. You give your whole like spiel. What's kind of, I guess maybe it obviously depends a little bit on who your client avatar is that you're going after, but maybe give us some key things there.
Okay. The About section is 2,600 characters, including spaces. Please, folks, use it. Do not give me one paragraph if you have 35 years of experience because you have now shortchanged yourself. Okay? Start with the pronoun I. Never Darren is, never Mr. Wirtz is. I mean, oh my God, have we stopped talking like that yet? Because I
Uh,
don't want to call you up and go, hello, Mr. Wirtz. This is Mr. Halpert. No one talks like that, right? Use powerful verbs. There's a
mm,
wonderful website out there, 185 powerful verbs. It's written for resume writers, but there's no reason why you can't use it for LinkedIn. So let's leave was, has, made, did behind us. That's all fifth grade. We're not fifth grade anymore. Let's make the verbs resonate.
yeah.
Let's make them rich. Let's put white space between paragraphs, folks. Do not make non-lawyers, or even lawyers tell me this. They don't want to read blocks of material either. Use the white space on your side. No bullet points. Use complete sentences.
Oh,
Please
interesting.
make this look like your resume, as we were saying before. Tell stories. Absolutely love stories. Couple of lines. Do not give me all the background and all, I don't need that. You don't get enough space for that. I don't have enough attention span for that. But if I'm looking for an attorney who could pull a rabbit out of his or her hat, I want to know how you did that. Okay. And then say after that story, see recommendation below from Darren Wirtz, who was my recommender for this situation.
Ah,
There's
that's
so
good.
many things you can do. I use in my About section snippets of quotes that people have given me about the work I've done. So I can talk about myself all day long, but eventually when other people talk about me, it's a little bit more real. And then I'm not doing my job right if I don't overlay that horrible word called ethics. And this is something that really makes a lot of lawyers stumble. And they
Mm,
decide that they don't want to go talk to the ethics advisor or the ethics attorney in the firm because they just don't want to go there. It's too much work. But you know what? Go to that ethics person and ask them, here's what I'm proposing to say. Is there anything here that you think is an issue? Now, ethics is this amorphous blob of material that varies by jurisdiction. The ethics in the Louisiana bar are different than the ethics requirements in the New York State bar and different than the American Bar Association. You have to find what makes sense for your readers. But it's always lawyer advertisement, and you need to advise about that. Never say anything or let anybody else say anything on your LinkedIn profile that you cannot substantiate every single day. Like, Darren is the only attorney who was able to win this case because the other side was so intransigent. He said every word right, and the judge agreed with him. That makes me think he'll do this every single day. It ain't going to happen. But I can't tell you how many people have done that. And I've had to say to them, you can't say that. Don't use the word expert. You're not an expert. The bar won't let you say that.
Yeah.
They're all different. So check locally. And then, you know what? Back to a point I really wanted to make before I touched on it is everything you put on your LinkedIn profile is subject to the ethics requirements, which means that only you are responsible for what's on your profile, which means that you let it you put it there yourself, or you let somebody else write it in their recommendation, or they have endorsed you for a skill that they don't know you have. You're in charge, and you have to be really, really careful.
Okay.
So you really want to be sure that everything that appears under your name is completely reconcilable to the type of work you can do on a regular basis.
That makes
I'm sure
sense.
otherwise,
Yeah.
it's horrible, but it is what it is.
Yeah, great insights. And so I love what you shared there. Filling the white space. I've often wondered about that. Like, should I keep it short or should I use up the space? But using it in such a way that's not just like one solid block of text, sorry, not using the white space, but using the characters that you have available, right? So that's great. Thank you for that. And the reviews, or putting reviews actually in there or referencing them. I've seen folks do that. So that's interesting to hear. And that is something very doable. And I think that's a great idea as well. Yeah.
You don't have to put their name, attributing it to them. If it was sent to you, it's yours to use. Now, you might ask their permission to do it if you think that it's necessary. That is completely a personal call. But I believe that if I get a review of a work I did, I just did a session in New York on Tuesday, and they came back to me with, this was exactly what we wanted, and the staff loved it, and all that stuff. Boom, I'm taking that and I'm going to put it in there. Because when I talk about in my about section that I do training sessions in firms, I want people to know that I'm really recognized for doing it well. And these were non-solicited comments. I'll ask for comments when I want them, and ask people to write recommendations about an aspect of what I want to do. Let's touch on that real quick if we could. I know I'm taking the reins away from you, but
no, go ahead.
recommendations are a place where lawyers get into trouble because of the ethics requirements. There's nothing wrong with having a recommendation from somebody who you did work for or somebody you worked with, so long as they understand that this was a specific situation and a specific outcome that was only those specific circumstances. If somebody writes you a recommendation and you know you can't publish it like that, send it back to them and ask them to make the following changes. So, Mark, I'm sorry, but this is Darren writing to me. I'm sorry, but you didn't know this, but the requirements in the Cincinnati Bar Association say that you can't say, and then use the quote from what I said and say, could you please address that? Could you please change it to? You can either add substitute language or say, please strike it and take it out. And don't publish a recommendation on your profile unless you know that it fits within what you're looking for to compliment you about the things that you did, and it fits within the ethics requirements. And then you don't get in trouble.
Yeah.
You don't have to go hat in hand to somebody and say, gee, I didn't know that, because not knowing is not an excuse.
Yeah. It's interesting that a lot of the ethical requirements you're mentioning are similar for financial folks.
Oh, yeah.
So that's that's a very interesting aspect.
Probably for the financial people, because the compliance requirements are not only more stringent in some firms than in others, which makes my job really difficult because I don't know what you can say in firm A that you can't say in firm B. That's why I always go to the compliance people and say, let's sit down and talk for about half an hour. Tell me what you want not said or you don't
Yeah.
want said better. And then they say, well, we don't talk about this, we talk about that, and then so it's hard for finance people, it's hard for lawyers. But you know what? The compliance people I speak to say, if you'd only ask us instead of being afraid of us,
Yeah.
we're happy to talk.
Hopefully they'll do that. Yeah. But yeah, ask them what will work, because otherwise, like you submit something, you're like, okay, no, you can't do that. But then, you need to know what are the parameters here? How can I kind of fit this
It's
and
not a
and
zero
make it
sum
work?
game, folks. They're not going to say you can't say anything, so take it all off. They're going to say we would prefer you say the following, and prefer means you cannot say what you thought you were going to say. Let the compliance people help you. I mean, the compliance people I speak to, they say to me, I wish people would knock on our door and ask our opinion before they put it up there. We have to smack them around a little bit. It's
Yeah.
just the wrong way to approach a constraint. It's, but
Yeah.
everybody's different.
Let's talk about posting real quick. How
Good.
important is posting, and what are some key insights you have for doing it well and effectively?
Okay. Posting is essential. So once you've got your LinkedIn profile pretty well put up there on LinkedIn, you have to bring people to it. Every time you post, everybody that you are connected to sees your post. If I added at Darren Wirtz into the post, everybody Darren's connected to will see that I invoked his name, and that puts me in front of all of Darren's connections. This is social media 101, right? What a wonderful thing if you use this effectively. So you need to consistently post high quality material every time you have something important to impart. Some people say, I post once a month. Is that enough? No, it's not enough. Okay. I post once a day. Okay. So long as it's important and relevant to what you're working in. Now, if you're in certain areas of the law and you are a mover and a shaker on a case, you want to be careful about what you say, but you want to let people know that the rules and the law is changing by precedent, and here's where we are today. Or I read this amazing article it could be Harvard Business Review, it could be the Wall Street Journal, it could be the New York Times. I don't care where you read it, so long as you put an @ sign in front of the name of the publication to give it citation. And here's what I take away from this newspaper article. So it's interpreting someone else's material through your expert lens. Ooh, I want to know what you're thinking,
Hmm.
because I may have read that article, but I didn't come away with that interpretation. Oh, you're adding to my knowledge. So I have 4 things to post on a regular basis, and you can find these things. What do you know that you want other people to know
Mhm.
that they don't know already? What do you feel that you want other people to feel that they don't feel yet? What do you believe that you want other people to believe that they're not quite ready to believe yet? And finally, what do you want them to do? Every post has to end with a call to action. At the minimum, please share this with anybody you think might benefit from it. That just makes you a good guy, makes the person who shares it a good person, and the person who receives it is appreciative. Simple. Do you agree with me? And why? Do you not agree with me? Let's have a conversation here on LinkedIn. Make it professional, folks, but let's have a point counterpoint, because those are where knowledge changes and gets added to.
Hmm.
Has anybody felt this, heard this, experienced this, any of those words? Tell me your stories. Will you get a ton of people answering? Absolutely not, because we are lazy creatures by and large. But if we are so motivated to respond to your post, then you're going to write something. Do not give me clapping hands and smiley faces and thumbs up, folks. Those emojis mean nothing to me. They don't tell me why you like something. Case in point, this morning I wrote an article on my newsletter on LinkedIn about not using emojis. What did I get back? Oh my God, I got emojis. I mean, come on.
I bet you got a lot of comments on that one.
I normally do. I got more emojis than I wanted. Let's put it that way. Emojis are hit and runs. They are click of the switch. They don't tell me why did you bother to expend a calorie to do
Mm,
that.
yeah.
What are you thinking between your ears, not tip of your finger? And I wish they wouldn't use emojis, but in our very fast-paced society, we expect to at least tell somebody, well, I'm breathing, I'm alive, and therefore I like you. Thank you very much is a thumbs up. Then tell me, why did you like something? And lawyers live in the world of words. They should be able to articulate in words, not in emojis. They're far too educated and far too motivated. So if I could get rid of emojis in one fell swoop, I would be so happy. But LinkedIn to me, that's okay. By the way, I don't work for LinkedIn. I can say anything I want. But tell us what you're thinking. Tell us where you're going. Tell us what you're perceiving. Tell us what you want us to know, what you want us to feel, what you want us to believe, what you want us to do. If
Yeah.
you don't do those, you're just plopping a link to an article. You're not telling us what we want to know about it, what your motivation was for it. I see this all the time. And people say to me, I'm too busy. I don't have time to put words around it. Well, that's not an excuse. Sorry.
Certainly. Great advice. Well, there you have it, folks. Skip the emojis. Give us something real.
And don't send me an emoji telling me you like this
There you
program.
go. Well, Mark, this has been delightful. Unfortunately, we're rapidly coming to the end of our time here. I got two questions left for you. One, I'll ask, and then I'll give you an opportunity to share with our listeners how they can connect with you. But my final question, one I ask all my listeners, is what is your lawyer millionaire mission? And by that, I'm getting at what's your long-term vision, either for you personally or for your business?
I'm at a point in my life where I love nothing more than to give other people opportunity that they never had on their own without coaching them, pushing them, nudging them a little bit further. We have what Seth Godin calls the lizard brain in the back of our head, which tells us you can't, you shouldn't, you don't. Rise past it. Go past it, folks. Don't let expectations stop you. Be a disruptor. That's okay. That's how progress is made. And you want to progress in your field, I want to progress in mine. And I don't necessarily say the party line. So you're going to get the unvarnished truth from me. I love working with my clients who come to me and say, I don't know what to say. I don't think anybody cares about what I think. And we really kind of go to the bottom of what makes you go. Why do you do what you do? Not what do you do or what did you do, because that's past tense and no one cares, but what makes you happy about coming to work on Monday morning? If you're not happy to be at work on Monday morning, I got lots of people that you can talk to, including me, to get you to a place where you want to be on Monday morning. My other point is that I like people to be just a little bit amazinger than the competition. I made up that word too.
I love it.
And that is about I can talk to anybody for about 5 minutes and figure out what makes them really interesting and cultivate that. But how does somebody who doesn't have 5 minutes realize how amazing you are because they've got nanoseconds for you to make that impression? So I am passionately in love with the work I do. It is so rewarding. It is so gratifying to hear people contact me and say, I went back to my profile the next morning and I looked and I was horrified and I spent 3 days working on it. Well, good. I'm glad for that. And you sweated blood, sweat, and tears, and you needed to because it's all for you. I had
Yeah,
no effect on you other than make you look at it in a new way. So if
absolutely.
you want to get a hold of me, I think that was
Mhm.
question number two.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, first of all, you see this book. I got to figure out which side. That's the book for the American Bar Association. I have my own company and I blog every single business day on a LinkedIn topic. So you can find me at connect, the number two, collaborate.com, connect2collaborate.com. You can email me there. You can text with me there. You find go to my LinkedIn profile, linkedin.com/in/Marc Halpert, MARCHALPERT. I am the only Marc Halpert on LinkedIn who has /Marc Halpert, which is a whole nother thing we didn't get a chance to talk to you about. professionalizing your URL. All right, but anyway, this thing is a monster. Do not let it frustrate you. The algorithm does not need to be fed every day. You be you. You let your point of view sell you. Do not play to the algorithm. I don't know any better way to end than that.
I love it. Great stuff, Mark. This has been really, really helpful for me too. I'm about to go back and look at my LinkedIn, and hopefully, a lot of our listeners are as well. And hopefully, they'll reach out to you to learn even more about how they can be effective on LinkedIn. To our listeners out there, thank you so much for joining us today. And if you found value in our conversation, I encourage you to please leave us a review. Your reviews help us reach even more professionals like you. Also, don't forget to subscribe to The Lawyer Millionaire to stay updated with everything we've got going on and more of these great conversations. For more information about The Lawyer Millionaire, me, your host, Darren Wirtz, and my services, please visit our website, thelawyermillionaire.com. We aim to serve you with clear, trustworthy financial advice that instills confidence while helping you build and secure your financial future. Thanks once again. Until next time, this is Darren Wirtz signing off and wishing you great success.
Thank you, Darren. Really appreciate it.